Hello everybody and welcome to this new YouTube channel. Today I will be doing probably the most controversial Studio Ghibli ranking in all of YouTube, maybe of all time. This is my brand new YouTube channel. I'll be talking about a bunch of stuff including Studio Ghibli, but not only that, I'll make a video individually on every movie I talk about in this video, being every Ghibli movie, and I'll talk about music, other movies, other animes, and it'll be really fun going forward. The next video will probably be on Kanye West, so without further ado, let's get into the rankings. So let's start with the worst Ghibli movie in my opinion, Porco. Why do I not like this movie? Well, it's the only Studio Ghibli movie where I had to actively pause it because I was so bored. Also, a lot of Ghibli movies like to have a environmentally themed message pushed at the audience, which is totally honorable and totally fine. But I feel like this movie does it too heavy-handedly, and it doesn't leave much up to interpretation. The only part I enjoyed were when they leave and go into the spirit realm. But besides that, it's a really boring movie. The comedy didn't really hit for me. The animation obviously is good, and it's one of my favorite Studio Ghibli directors, Isao Takahata, but it's a 3 out of 10 movie. It's the only bad Studio Ghibli movie in my opinion, and I wouldn't watch it again and do not recommend it. Now at number 22, I have the most controversial pick on this list probably. Well, no, it's not the most controversial, but because of what goes above it, it probably will leave a couple comments, if I do have comments on this video, and it is The Secret World of Arrietti. Why is this movie so low? Well, the animation is obviously good because it's Studio Ghibli, but it's the style that I don't like as much, so it's more of a computer-based style. And also, if any Studio Ghibli movie could be bland, it would be this one. It's the only one that feels derivative of the other Studio Ghibli movies and just doing what works, and it doesn't really feel original at all. So I wouldn't watch it, and I was pretty bored watching it all the way through, but I'd give this movie a solid 5 out of 10. Now at 21, we have the oddest movie on this list, My Neighbors, Theyamadas. Why is this movie so low? Well, I like the movie. It's fun, and it's actually funny. A lot of the jokes do land, but the problem that I see with this movie is it's not really focused and doesn't really have a theme. It's mostly Isao Takahata adapting something that he loves, which is cool to see, but not fun to watch always. The animation is really experimental and amazing in my opinion, and it's the movie they released before Spirited Away, which we will talk about later definitely. And I'll have more to say about this movie in the entire video, but I don't know, it's not a movie I'm willing to rewatch a lot, and it's really different stylistically, which is good, but it's not really a Ghibli style, if that makes sense. Now at number 20, people get mad that I put this one above the other ones, Tales from Earthy. I think this movie isn't underrated, but it isn't as bad as everybody seems to say it is. I mean, it is bad, but it's more bland than anything. Oh yeah, and if I didn't mention, Neighbors, Theyamadas is also a 5.5 out of 10. It's a bland action-adventure movie. The characters you don't really connect with any of the characters. The music is okay. The visuals are really good, and I will stand by the visuals, but it's not really a Ghibli story, and the things that they do with the villain at the end don't really connect with me as an audience member, and even like in the context of the movie, a lot of the stuff just doesn't work for me. All the movies from this director are kind of iffy, but this one is definitely the worst. Goro Miyazaki can do a lot better, but he still needs to prove himself in my opinion. Another Goro Miyazaki movie, Earwig and the Witch. Now, the problem with this movie is that, one, the animation looks awful. It's not a Ghibli style. All the characters look like they're made out of plastic. But the music's good, the characters are charming. But the other problem I see with this movie is that it's half a movie. It starts getting interesting and then just ends. Why? It's a frustrating movie, but it's not the worst on this list. I give the last one, sorry that I'm forgetting to mention this, a 6, and this a 6.5 out of 10. And now finally we're getting to movies I enjoy. At number 17, we have, at number 18, we have When Marnie Was There. Now, I like this movie. I do not like the main character. It's a good movie. It deals with trauma. It's a really heavy Studio Ghibli movie, and it's a very heavy movie for them to make, which I commend them for. But it's all fun and games until you find out that the girl is her dead ghost grandma, and I don't know, it's just it's a weird and unnecessary reveal in my opinion, and it is a good movie. You should check it out. I do enjoy it, but it's not really one of my favorites. Another 6.5 out of 10. Now, From Up on Poppy Hill at number 17. And From Up on Poppy Hill is the first good Goro Miyazaki movie in my opinion. What I like about this movie is mostly the soundtrack and the visuals. Even though some of the visuals are reminiscent of other Studio Ghibli movies like Whisper of the Heart, it is a really good movie until the incest plotline that's there for some reason and adds almost nothing, just a layer of uncomfortableness. But the themes of old versus new in this movie are really good in my opinion, and I will explore them in their own video. But as a movie, I mean, yeah, I like it. I'd rewatch it. It's an amazing soundtrack that you should check out, and I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Guess who's returning? The Cat, number 16. The Cat returns. This is a kind of sequel to Whisper of the Heart. It's a really fun kids movie. It's not really that, like, it's not really a thought-provoking or one of their deepest movies, but it is fun and you should check it out. There's really not much to say about this movie. It's fun, the animation's amazing. It looks totally different, but the geometric shapes really add to the atmosphere of the movie, and the soundtrack is also good. 7.5 out of 10, good movie. And now for one of the most controversial picks on this list, probably at number 15, the worst Hayao Miyazaki movie in my opinion, Ponyo. If there are comments on this video, I'm gonna get flamed for putting Ponyo so low. I don't know, I just couldn't get into the characters. The world building is good with all the underwater stuff, but it feels kind of half-baked with a lot of stuff that happens. And that works for movies like Spirited Away because it's supposed to feel like a dream, but I don't think that's what they were going for in this movie. So, I don't know, I just didn't really enjoy it. I found that it dragged in some parts. And I know it's a lot of people's favorites, and it's a Hayao Miyazaki movie. Of course, it's gonna look amazing and sound amazing, but it's not really one of my favorites. And yeah, this is Hayao Miyazaki's worst movie in my opinion. Also, well, yeah, I don't have much more to say. I'll talk about it more eventually. And now, oh yeah, I give that movie another 7.5 out of 10, and now an 8 out of 10 for a classic, the first classic on this list. They have so many good movies. It's such an amazing studio. Totoro. I love Totoro. But the way this movie does the plot is done better in a movie that we'll see later on this list. It is a really great movie. It captures your imagination. The soundtrack is a classic. The movie is a classic. But the pacing can drag sometimes. You don't really connect to the characters sometimes. And if you don't 100% connect to the characters and the atmosphere in a movie like this one, start to connect. And also it has a really forced climax in my opinion, where they see the shoe and the river and everything. That was kind of unnecessary, but this movie is a masterpiece and everybody should check it out. And it's the logo of the company, of course. Now another 8 out of 10 to Castle in the Sky. I love Castle in the Sky. It's such a good action adventure movie. Reminds me of Indiana Jones and that era of filmmaking. The train sequence is so good. The visuals are so good. How it inspired Minecraft is so good. But this one has a really bad pacing problem in my opinion. Sorry about that noise. A lot of people don't talk about. Like, this movie does drag sometimes, and it's hard to get through repeated watchings, but it is an amazing vibe and an amazing movie. But also the characters are kind of two-dimensional in parts, which subtracts from it, but the pirates are always fun, and it is a great movie. You should check it out. 8 out of 10. And number 12, we have another controversial pick, Howl's Moving Castle. Why do I not like this movie? It doesn't have, it is so unfocused. I do not know what this movie is trying to say or what it's about. If it's about politics, if it's about Howl's romance. The Sophie stuff is all so unclear. The vibe is amazing, and it is comforting. The movie is comforting. The soundtrack, of course, you've heard the songs even if you think you haven't. But it's so unfocused, and it tries to do so much. And it just doesn't all pan out by the end, in my opinion. That's why I have it at number 12. And number 11, we have Princess Mononoke. Why do I have this one so low down and everybody puts it at number 2 or number 1? Well, it's because I think the ideas are amazing, but I think people overvalue this movie just because of what it did at the time when it was released. It was the first really violent and heavy popular Ghibli movie, so it was impressive. And also the animation, the set pieces, it's all amazing, but I can't connect to the characters, which is my biggest problem with this movie. The atmosphere is amazing, the music is amazing, but I just can't I don't know what it is, but I just can't 100% get into this movie, which is really sad to me, but that's why it's so low down. Now you'll get mad at me because of what I put above Mononoke, and it's Ocean Waves, because I can't connect to the characters, and I love the setting, and I love the music, and it's one of my personal favorite Ghibli movies now that we're in the top 10, and I don't know what I like so much about this movie. I don't know if it's the relatability of all the high school characters, which a lot of people call toxic and stuff, but I think people forget that that's how high schoolers are. It's just an amazing movie. I love it. The animation is a little more rough than the other ones, but it's still hand-drawn and beautiful in my opinion, and the story is really heartwarming, and it's a short movie. You should definitely check it out. It's a really slept-on movie that goes really underappreciated a lot. At number 9, we have one of the most beautiful movies on this list, and the last Isao Takahata movie, Tale of the Princess Kaguya. This movie is beautiful. The dream sequence is one of the perfect things in film in my opinion, and there really isn't much criticism except pacing, but the point is for it to be slow, so that really isn't a criticism. But you should definitely check out this movie. The only problem is pacing, and that some of the themes are hard to get into, and the ending is kind of confusing, but knowing what happened to him in real life, it is a really beautiful movie, and you should definitely go check it out. By this point onwards, it's really hard for me to make criticisms because we're in the top 10, so every movie to me is kind of perfect. Number 8, another Isao Takahata movie, and this one is the only movie ever that has made me sob. Like really, really cry. And I think you know which one it is. It's the Grey of Fireflies. I mean, what else is there to say? It's a criticism of wartime Japan. It's a criticism of a lot of things. And it is a really emotional movie that connects you a lot to the characters, just to rip your soul away and make you cry a lot. At number 7, we have the movie that I think did the Totoro plot structure correctly, which is Kiki's Delivery Service. I 100% relate with all the characters in this movie. I love the characters. The animation is beautiful. The music, I love the music so much in this movie. And this movie feels weirdly lonely, and it is a really comforting lonely though. It's not like, it doesn't make you sad, but it does have like a melancholy throughout it, which makes it one of my favorite Studio Ghibli movies. And also, it is kind of a forced climax, but it's more justified in this movie than in Totoro, in my opinion. Another controversial pick, Isao Takahata's Only Yesterday. I love Only Yesterday. I love Only Yesterday. People call it boring. I don't respect those people's opinions. The farming stuff can get a little dull, but I don't care. All the stuff with the memories and you connecting with your past and dealing with your childhood, one of my favorite ways a movie has ever been made. The animation is completely beautiful. The juxtaposition between the present and the past is... Isao Takahata is a genius. At number 5, we have one of my favorite Miyazaki movies, of course that being Porco Rosso. A lot of people don't like this movie because they call it kind of basic and stuff, but it doesn't have any pacing problems. The music is beautiful. It's just a fun movie. It's really fun, and I love the music. I love all the characters. It's just such a vibe. It's like, I don't know if this will make sense to anybody, but it's like Blade Runner for kids, even though it's not a cyberpunk city. It's just the coolness this movie just carries around everywhere. All the movies from here on out are 10 out of 10s in my opinion, starting with The Wind Rises. What else do I have to say about this movie? It's a period piece by Hayao Miyazaki. It's beautiful, the animation's beautiful, and it's the best ending to any movie ever. You can fight me on that. At number 3, I have a really special movie for me. Whisper of the Heart. I love Whisper of the Heart. It shows the creative process in such a beautiful way, and me being an artist can relate to that movie a lot. I love all the characters. Country Roads is used beautifully in this movie. All the movie could be a screensaver, but that's for a lot of the Ghibli movies, but this one specifically. And since it was a one-off director, it feels completely different from many other Ghibli movies. And it's a coming-of-age movie, and it's beautiful, and you should watch it. It's a 10 out of 10. Number 2, we have the best fantasy movie of all time, in my opinion. Yeah, move aside, Lord of the Rings. Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. This inspired Final Fantasy, and me being a huge nerd, love Final Fantasy and all the RPGs. It's such a great movie. The desolate, apocalyptic atmosphere is done so perfectly with beautiful animation, and this being the first Studio Ghibli movie is so impressive in my opinion. I love the characters. I love all the concepts. It is such a beautiful, desolate, and peaceful movie. I love Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I think you know what number 1 is. It's Spirited Away. I mean, escapism, ethereal, dreamlike, beautiful soundtrack, iconic, no face. What else do I need to say about it? It's just a beautiful, ethereal experience that everybody needs to experience at least once in their life. It feels like you're a kid again when you're watching that movie. It's beautiful. And well, that was my Studio Ghibli ranking. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you didn't, please, 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 please leave an angry comment. Bye.